Harley Quinn, the supervillain that wanted to get reincarnated into another world. But being a S-tier threat to the world itself, Harley was captured and was sent to another world of magic to fulfill a mission given to her alongside a squad of the worst villains. Although it seems like a nice experience, they currently have a device in their neck, and if they don't do what they are told or get too far away, it will explode within 72 hours. Which basically means they'll be walking around headless. The anime starts with Harley Quinn talking to her hostages about a new world. Of course, Harley's partner in crime, the love of her life, is also with her in this hijack. Meanwhile, some guys in white coats working under the lady with a very manly voice are getting ready to pull off something crazy. The police enter the building to capture Joker and Harley. Unfortunately, Joker and Harley are both gone like my father. But they did leave a present for the police, at least in the safe hands of lovely hostages. The present starts beeping and gives everyone the honor of dying by Joker and Harley's hands. While Joker and Harley are driving away in their piano/car, Joker hypes up Harley by saying that the fun has just started. However, the police try to block their way, so instead of politely using the car horn, Harley decides to use a bazooka on them. Joker then slices open the bag of money that they just stole, so the chaos shall begin. He finds this modern world ugly because of how unfair it is. I mean, I think it's pretty unfair how you just pulled an entire bazooka out of nowhere like this GTA, but you know. Back at the lab, the code nerds are still trying to open some gates, but they are facing a power shortage, so this career-oriented lady tells the nerd NPCs to extract more energy from her. This her is some girl hostage covered in a white cloth. Joker explains to Harley that the people who have enough to eat would still boss around others, so he wants to be reincarnated into a new world. The police are still chasing them, so Harley gives them a show of her excellent baseball skills. The audience blows up at seeing her top-tier skills. While Joker is talking about how they will take the lead to change this world, Harley pulls the handbrake so they can enjoy a drink. As she is about to head inside the bar, Joker tells her that she's the best woman alive. Harley replies that it's because she's his woman. Ain't nothing like stopping at a bar when you got a 5-star level on your head. She enters the bar and notices a very tense atmosphere inside, so she asks the bartender about KJ and whether he's taking the day off. The bartender replies that KJ called in with a cold. Harley then whispers in the bartender's ear that there's no KJ who works here. She yells at Joker to inform him that they are ambushed. I mean, what did you expect? She defeats everyone at the bar with ease and then climbs up the building in front while trying to contact Joker, who was pushed away by police cars. However, Harley runs into another unexpected person, this time a pretty one. The Battle of Hottas begins, and while the sword girl is seriously trying to take down Harley, Harley keeps fooling around. Unfortunately, she defeats Harley and Chris breezes her with the back of her sword. Meanwhile, the gate has finally stabilized after causing a lot of damage to the lab's infrastructure. The gate to another world has finally opened. Harley has been captured while they fail to capture Joker. Half a year passes by without any good stuff. In the research center of Argus, we see that lab lady again, who hasn't changed her pink outfit for 6 months now. This mustache mosquito is trying to stop the lady, but she reminds him how corrupt he is with the facility's supplies, so he should shut up or move to another anime. He unlocks the cell and there's our Harley again, enjoying TV with pizza. However, the pink lady takes her away for some reason. Mustache Mosquito reminds Harley how he has been cooperating with her, so he needs her to show some gratitude. This thirsty uncle then gets his eggs smashed by Harley while she reminds him that she isn't for the street like our ex. Harley is then knocked out with a taser, and the muscle lady tells eggless uncle to lead her to the other cells. Harley then feels a weird sensation of going through a weird portal. She wakes up and finds herself tied up by the side of 3 other prisoners. There's this dude who doesn't know how to talk to ladies, then there's this self-obsessed guy, and finally, a guy with a bag over his face, which Harley thinks is because he had an accident while shaving. This plastic bag guy tells them that they are summoned here for a noble mission. The mission is to create and maintain peace. An agent enters the room and connects the video call with Muscle Lady. She states that the 5 of them are going to work with her agent, Adam. As a reward, their sentences will be reduced. Their mission is to establish and protect a series of bridgeheads that will help their research in this new region. Since reduced sentences aren't appealing to them, this lady with only one suit in her wardrobe tells them that she has implanted bombs in all 5 of their necks. She can trigger it any time she wants. Moreover, if a signal isn't sent from her end, the bomb is set to explode every 72 hours. This guy at Harley's left tries to resist, but the lady blackmails him by talking about his daughter. At this point, this guy finally tells us the name of this muscle lady. It's either a B For Amanda Waller. While Adam is unlocking the handcuffs, the self-obsessed guy asks who Amanda was referring to as the fifth guy and what is their mission. Before he could answer, the pilots get shot and the plane crashes. Adam Bro loses his life in the plane crash and his screen time is over just like that. Harley unlocks herself and looks outside. Thankfully, this daughter guy catches her. Self-obsessed guy uses his clay power to break open the door of the other side and the four of them find themselves in some Lord of the Rings novel. They wonder if they are in the middle of some high-budget film set, but then they get surrounded by by some ugly pig monsters. Due to the language barrier, they couldn't exchange words. The pigs attack them, so the fight begins. Finally, the fifth prison also enters the screen and it's a shark man named King Shark. He's a metahuman with the IQ of England's coach, Southgate. Then we have the Maiden of Mischief, former psychiatrist, the beautiful Harley Quinn. This bag-on-face guy is the guy who uses violence to achieve peace at all costs. His name is Peacemaker. Then there's the unpopular movie actor with the ability to change shapes, Clayface. Finally, we have Deadshot, who's a professional assassin who never misses his target. Deadshot takes out the Pig King, the one with more ugly points than the rest of the monsters. The pigs run away and now some humans approach our squad. He sees King Shark eating the monsters, so he gets on guard. However, Deadshot knocks away his sword and tries to talk to him with reason. The guy pulls his sword back with some magic and Clayface understands the situation, so he approaches the knight to negotiate with him. Clayface is excited that his boring life has changed and he's in some Alice in the Wonderland world right now. He finally comes to the conclusion that they have been teleported to another world. Clayface asks the knight to let them see the queen so she can give them the luxurious life they deserve. The negotiations didn't go his way as Clayface, along with others, found himself in prison. I mean, it mostly didn't go their way due to some people arguing in the background, but you know. Meanwhile, the girl who defeated Harley informs her master, or whoever it is, that some new otherworlders have entered this world. The knights are clearing the way and throwing poor people aside so the path of the queen's carriage is clear. Just to be clear, the people are poor, the government is not. Queen and the other pregnant uncles are watching the Blu-ray version of yesterday's battle, while of course, licking Queen's heels with comments like it's all thanks to her battle orders and blah blah. This aristocrat with a shoelace mustache suggests throwing a party for the soldiers, whereas the knight reminds him that the kingdom is starving. However, Uncle Big Mac is determined to put on a frock and dance for the soldiers. Queen then shuts them both up by saying that this isn't a victory. She will only call it a victory when her country's enemies are rumbled. She's not shameless like a certain team in Euros who would celebrate moving on to the round of 16 without any player scoring a single goal other than that one penalty. Pink-haired Knight Commander shows the footage of our squad, saying that they single-handedly turned the tide of battle, and the Empire could use them as weapons. However, the Queen is too proud to take outsiders' help, reminding the knight that he was once the strongest knight before dyeing his hair pink. She orders everyone to prepare for the next battle and ends the meeting. Queen's daughter, Fione, suggests paying more attention to the strange people Cecil mentioned, but the Queen tells her to shut up. Back in her room, Fione has lost her appetite after seeing the condition of her citizens. She calls Cecil in his room and asks him for a favor, and no, she's not going to ask him to change his hair color. Harley finds herself in the interrogation room where two policemen try to mock her for turning from a psychiatrist to a psycho. However, Harley states that prison guards are just muscleheads who couldn't hack it as cops. Their fragile ego gets hurt, so they use the taser on her, but then Joker rescues her. At this wholesome moment, Harley wakes up from the dream. She's not pleased at seeing the restarted squad in front of her. Clayface realizes that they aren't welcome in this country and then keeps yapping about a story where he's the MC. Deadshot now remembers that Clayface is that annoying character who keeps forcing script changes. Peacemaker highlights that it has been exactly 12 hours since they arrived here, so only 60 hours left until boom. Others thought that the Peacemaker was working but now they have realized that he's just a peace maniac. Clayface decides to add a twist to this story by using his ability to break out. However, he immediately reveals his ulterior motive that leaving his friends behind to die would be some Oscar-worthy lungs-touching character development. Harley and Deadshot start screaming to inform guards about the escape, and Peacemaker grabs him so he doesn't escape. The guards put a power-sealing handcuff on him and now his escape plan is ruined. The four of them are taken by the guards for dinner, not King Shark because bro is a heavy sleeper. They are approached by this monster who happens to be a big deal in this prison. He tells them to get away from his table. Clayface doesn't want to create a scene, so it's time for negotiations 2.0. Unfortunately, the language barrier makes things hard again and Clayface gets smacked to the other side. Harley really wants to fight now, so the three of them clap their green bums. After defeating them, they hit the victory emote. Unfortunately, the guards pull out magic wands and then throw them in the disciplinary cell. In that cell, they come across another person from their world. A person who speaks the same language as Deadshot, Harley, and Peacemaker, Japanese. Not the same as Clayface because he speaks the Lulu Japanese. Rick Flag is also an agent of Argus. He knows all 5 of these acoustic fellas. Rick wonders if Amanda finally sent backup, but then he looks at Harley and realizes that she might have gotten serious this time. Rick reveals that he was sent to this world with a group like this a couple of months ago. Their goal, once again, was that lame noble finding water and natural resources stuff, because no other goal exists in DC. But wait, they want to monopolize the resources they find so they get more money to spread freedom. So basically, this Suicide Squad was sent to cover up the mess of the previous squad. Rick asks who their leader is, so Harley shares that it was some Adam or Eve. However, Bro got the JJK favorite characters treatment. They inform Rick about the timer, so Rick thinks about it for a second, and shares that since they have the same goal, he will help them escape. Rick thinks that the device must be on the helicopter, but Harley cutely explains what happened to the helicopter. Rick states that they have to get near the gate to receive signals, and he can show them the way to that entry point. While they still argue whether Rick and they should team up or not, King Shark wakes up with a hungry tummy. The 4 of them get on their guard as they don't want to become King Shark's food. Rick uses King Shark's real name, Nana, and tells him that there's food on the other side, so he should go through that unlocked gate. Nana actually breaks the door, and before the guard uses his magic wand, Deadshot knocks it out of his hand. Harley then picks it up and goes for a home run. Before heading out, Clayface steals the key to his handcuff and then unlocks all the doors. All the prisoners are now free. This also confirms his suspicion that his powers are working better in this world. Clayface wanted to command all the prisoners as their leader, but Peacemaker steals the opportunity and tells everyone to fight for peace. An immense battle takes place in the prison with some beautiful animations and funky action. We even get some dance moves from Clayface and his team. The colorful and jolliest fight ends with all the guards being eliminated by the prisoners. Meanwhile, Cecil is heading towards the prison while thinking about his conversation with Fione. She asks Cecil about those prisoners, but Cecil revealed that he was interested in their weaponry, but not even their best technician could figure out what they were. Fione sent him to talk to the Suicide Squad because she wants to end the war in her own way. However, when he arrives at the prison, he sees a Yankee hangout spot with prisoners playing games, enjoying beer, and arm wrestling while betting among other stuff. Harley then states that more guests are here, while Rick yells at them to remind them that they don't have time to be wasting on this stuff. The Empire's soldiers and the monsters of this castle are standing face to face. The commander Cecil then raises his hand and signals the troop to begin the attack. The Magic Knights of the Kingdom and the Beastmen of the Empire charge at each other with all their might. Meanwhile, the crazy squad are streaming from the lobby far away. They are giving their expert analysis on which side to bet on. Deadshot concludes that both sides have equal strength, but since the knights are trying to siege, they are likely to fail miserably. Deadshot is an ex-military soldier, so he knows how dumb of a move it is to charge at the enemy head-on while trying to lay a siege. As of now, the squad still has 30 hours till boom. Deadshot is impressed with whoever the commander of these beasts is, the commander who's controlling his beasts from the castle. Let's go back in time to see what happened in the last 24 hours. Cecil was denied entry at the gate of prison and was greeted by the squad. They remember Cecil as he's the one who arrested them. Well, to be honest, they only remember him because of that ugly haircut. Cecil clarifies that their actions right now are indicating a clear rebellion. Deadshot mocks him as it seems that Cecil doesn't want to be stressed so he doesn't lose any more of his pink hair. Cecil attacks Harley with his sword, but King Shark eats his sword. Cecil gets it back though using his magic bracelet while Clayface tapes up Shark's tummy. This time, Rick steps forward to take care of the negotiations as he has learned the language of this world during his time in prison, and they don't want to waste time while fighting with knights. Rick politely asks Cecil to get his ugly tush here so they can make a deal. He clarifies politely that they don't want to fight, so Cecil should lead them to his worthless boss. He politely asks Cecil if his dumb stank tush cannot understand the words he's saying. Cecil is irritated, so he refuses, but Rick politely insists by saying that he should stop wasting his goddamn time. He, once again, asks Cecil politely if his pea-sized trash bag of a brain cannot understand his words. Rick realizes that prison might not be the best place to learn formal and polite words. Cecil has enough of the insults, so he gets ready to fight until he remembers Fione's words. He agrees to take them to the Queen. Prison language is the best language for negotiations. Rick thanks Cecil politely by saying that this is exactly how a chicken poop should act. The next morning, the squad is presented in front of the queen in a huge hall. Phione looks at Harley and stops for a second. The queen then casts a spell that overcomes the language barrier. Rick, the expert in negotiations, thanks the queen for granting an audience and states that they have a request to make. The queen reminds him that if it's anything other than picking cotton,
what did he say?
The prisoners don't have the right to make requests. Rick states that they can provide valuable information in exchange for their freedom. He claims that the reason Empire got so strong during this war against Queen's Queendom is because all their senior officers are replaced. The Queen already knows about this, so Rick reveals that all those senior officers are from another world like them. The squad now realizes that Rick must have been in charge of another squad and he lost control of them. Those guys ditched Rick for the Empire, but this means that the rise of the Empire was due to Rick's incompetence. Peacemaker claims that they are ready to atone for their mistake. In actual, he wants to be thrown to a battlefield so he can fight to bring peace. Bro is the biggest peace lover and peace hater at the same time. The Queen accepts the proposal and asks them to show their resolve. If the squad fails, Rick loses his head and gets eagered. Unfortunately, the squad couldn't care less for Rick, so he has to remind them that he's the only one who knows the location of the entry point of the gate. The squad then asks for their stuff to be given back, so they can hit their signature emotes. Harley is ready to steal hearts while Peacemaker is still wearing a mask. Deadshot is ready in his classy outfit while King Shark couldn't care less about the outfit. Lastly, Clayface is ready for that breathtaking entry in Demon Slayer as Michael Jackson. Back to the castle battlefield, Cecil has strictly told the squad not to interfere in the battle because it would hurt his pride. Deadshot wonders how these amazing beasts were trained, but Harley highlights that they seem more brainwashed than trained since the ones in back don't care about pain and are fully willing to carry out the command to Tataki. Deadshot connects the dots and realizes that he knows who their commander is. If his guess is right, the commander is his friend from the jail. Deadshot is sure that his friend would listen to him since he saved him countless times from being bullied in prison. While they look for a secret passage into the castle, Clayface tries to molt open the wall, and it works. He reveals that his original power only allows him to change the shape of his body, but ever since coming here, there's a strange magic power flowing through him. Harley felt the same during that home run. The squad enters the castle and easily wipes out every enemy in their way. They finally reach the top where the commander is standing. Deadshot clarifies that he's not here to fight because he and Rat are homies. For some reason, Rat isn't happy to see Deadshot here. Let's have a flashback to see why. Ratcatcher was bothered by other prisoners, so Deadshot rescued him by saying that Rat is surely a miserable muster, a gloomy and introverted trash who reeks of sewage, a virgin with an unsliced bologna for his stick. But that doesn't mean they have the right to bully him. Deadshot would often come to his room to give him a piece of cheese picked out from the trash and grab his food in exchange. He even ambushed Rat in the toilet and changed his hairstyle to make him seem more intimidating. He would fight the supplier guy for not giving Rat breeding books to Rat because that is what truly gets him off. Turns out, Deadshot was the biggest Rat bully. Everyone apart from him understands that there's no homie stuff in this flashback. Not everyone though, Shark is still clueless. Rat summons more monsters using his stick, not the baloney one, the other stick. The fight begins and despite being outnumbered, the squad is holding up nicely, but they are getting tired. They blame Deadshot for this mess, so Deadshot asks Rat what he did wrong. He wonders if he didn't bring the right corn for him or something. Rats gets more angry and levels up his monsters. Clayface uses the opportunity to steal the show by asking Deadshot to shoot at the water tanks. Now the water and dried sand can be considered as clay, so he sends all the monsters to hell. Peacemaker then takes a shot at Rat, but the bullet is blocked by the samurai who captured Harley. Harley is irritated as she can't wait for round 2 of the Battle of Hades. After they escape, Cecil scolds the squad for intervening and destroying the castle that they intended to retake. Deadshot states that it will be back to new after some repairs and cleaning. They think that Cecil is only putting on a show because more than the castle, he wants to regain his hair back. Meanwhile, Queen and the others are impressed with the squad for single-handedly defeating the enemy. Phione realizes that her guess was right, they can help her now. The Rat is not happy with his failure and he's ready to go again, this time stronger than ever. Harley recalls her past conversation with the Joker when some goons were looking for him in an abandoned building and he was telling her the best strategy to catch rats. Waking up in the prison cell, she feels refreshed even though all the others are annoyed that they were promised freedom in exchange for freedom, but they didn't get it. And now, their time bombs only read around 12 hours. Their ranting is disturbed when Princess Phione gives them a visit. She is clearly hesitating and talking about something but agrees that they should have been granted their promised freedom. But Harley cuts her off, questioning why she has been passing looks to her, and if she has something to say, she should just do so. Harley calls her timid and scared to speak her mind. Princess looks down in embarrassment, and before any more conversation, she is escorted out. Princess Phione used to disguise herself as a commoner to hang out with her commoner friends in childhood. Climbing on top of a house, she talks to her friends about his brother's health and gets to know that inflation has struck them yet again, and there is no work for him left to earn. The knights come looking for Phione, and the last thing her friend talks about is how he is disgusted by the still ongoing war, unaware of how much longer it's going to last. At home, Phione is scolded by her mother for wandering around the city when the royals have different duties. Phione calls her out, asking what their duty is, only to learn it's ending the war. A young Phione is a letter seen at a grave, possibly of her commoner friend. At the War Council, the Imperial Army's tracks are noted while being surprised at their massive number. As the prisoners also sit in this council, Harley intervenes, questioning why they are still in shackles when they freed the fort. The Queen reminds her that they also went overboard and destroyed the fort they were supposed to free. The Queen calls out Rick Flag to tell them what he knows about the Empire's senior officers and how they keep such strict command of their troops. Before answering, Rick Flag requests some more information on the beginning of the war. Cecil narrates that the kingdom has been against the Imperial Army for decades now, but it intensified in the last 6 months. It was the elves and the beastmen who betrayed them and joined the Imperial forces, causing such a bigger rift. Clayface throws a snarky remark about the beastmen not caring about the kingdom, followed by Deadshot pointing out how they are treating their war heroes. Yep, he is talking about the shackles ignoring the bunch of snacks in front of them, which Harley and Shark are currently munching on. Rick mentions this being something related to the Ratcatcher. He is leading the army and must be using the same ability with which he communicates with rats to control the beasts. Everyone talks about hunting rats, triggering something in Harley's mind. Deadshot questions about the bomb in the Ratcatcher's neck, so Rick tells him theirs has a countdown because without it the bombs defuse on their own. What happened with the Ratcatcher's bomb? Harley suddenly gets up excitedly and starts praising how genius Joker is, as she knows how to hunt rats. Clayface isn't wrong for wanting the same booze as her, cause we do too. After discussing the plan, all that is left is to lure the Ratcatcher up front. The Weird Squad demands a part of their army, but the royals seem to be selfish enough to use their prisoners and not let their knights die on the line. Well, the knights are already useless if they have to get a plan from the prisoners, but let's keep their delusions alive. On Harley's idea, they use prisoner ogres to help them with the plan. Clayface set up defense barriers with knights and ogres on the line. Deadshot is up on the roof to keep a watch while all others causally sit to see the plan work out. Clayface asks Cecil about Phione. Cecil calls her kind-hearted and caring, but Harley interjects that she is a self-loathing loser. They continue to argue till the enemy troop appears. Cecil tells them to lead the ogres, but all of them refuse to move, claiming their appearance won't make much of a difference. Agitated at that, Cecil storms off. The Ratcatcher observes the barriers and ogres and charges up his beastmen. He then looks around for Deadshot till he hears a gunshot. Sitting down, Ratcatcher laughs that Deadshot missed a golden opportunity, and then orders his army to move forward. Getting no response, he starts shouting at them, pushing them, swearing at them, but no use. Suddenly, he notices his magical staff has been shot down. All this while, the plan was to lure Ratcatcher to the front so his staff could be shot down. There was going to be no fight to begin with. Out of his spell, all the beastmen surround Ratcatcher and beat him up, completing Joker's story that the best way to hunt down rats is by making them feed on each other. The squad walks away after their job is done, while the enemy army surrenders to the knights. However, when the news of victory reaches the Queen, she looks shocked and traumatized by something. The Suicide Squad reaches the gate, but its height is far from their reach. Suddenly, all their necks start flashing, leaving them in wonder whether their heads are about to explode or the bomb is going to reset. The Peacemaker starts giving a countdown, making Deadshot panic. But the moment the countdown finishes, their bombs reset. Well, Deadshot is more surprised that Peacemaker knew how to count. Rick reminds them that their bombs being reset means they are expected to finish the mission. Rick explaining the mission sounds like a big drag, but the bottom line is that they need to establish good relations with the kingdom, and that'll be done first by helping them end the war. All of them agree and get started with the kingdom's army and working towards winning the war. However, Deadshot's bullets finish and Harley and Peacemaker are getting short of them too. Harley because she is currently drawing a heart with gunshots. Harley seems unbothered and suggests equipping them with frying pans as they serve as a great weapon in all the zombie movies, and Kushina, Naruto's mother. Rick gets an idea and reminds them that he was sent there as part of an advanced team, something none of them recalls. He tells them that their helicopter and arms must still be in one piece, but they landed on a mountain on the west side, so they have to pass the fort for it. Deadshot is in a rush to want his ammo, while Harley doesn't mind stopping by for a bath. When they reach the fort, Beanstalk and the ogres are having a party with all the booze they got from the night. The squad joins the dinner party, has their fun, and leaves by the morning, of course not before Harley collects a giant frying pan from them. The squad then heads towards the mountain. Throughout the journey, they laugh, banter, and pass through various terrains till they reach the mountain. Too bad a dragon has established a nest on the helicopter. Since all of them lack weapons, and sometimes common sense, they need to think of a way. Clayface transforms into a hideous bird to try and communicate with the dragon, but transforms back saying there was no chemistry. Yes, he seriously attempted to go on a date with the dragon. Deadshot and Clayface once again get into an argument which unfortunately gets the dragon's attention. So now, all of them are running around frantically while trying to save themselves from the fireballs being spat at them. As they run and try to figure out a plan, the dragon captures the shark and flies away. For a moment, they all stand and discuss how dragons must be health conscious now to prefer fish over meat, and how Deadshot can't believe a shark is healthier than meat. Yep, important discussion over their ally's life. Recalling King Shark needs to be saved, Clayface uses his skills to block the dragon's path. He signals Rick and Peacemaker to get the weapons. Using his last bullet, Deadshot aims for the dragon's eye, but the bullet is deflected by the thick skin of the eyelid. Plus point out of it that Shark got spat out of the dragon's mouth and is currently running around due to the heat of the fire. Surprising that it didn't become a fish steak by now. Harley finally gets to use her frying pan to deflect the fireball back at the dragon. The dragon gets hit by a rock and retaliates with its tail this time, but Harley is currently obsessing over how well her frying pan worked out. Deadshot saves her and runs around while carrying her and mentioning how much time Rick is taking. Harley suddenly jumps off from him and runs to go and check. Rick and Peacemaker look around to grab whatever they can use when Rick gets their hands on his transmitter. Harley also enters there and is faster than them to notice a bazooka and rush to throw it towards Deadshot. Peacemaker gets the dragon's attention while Clayface holds it by its tail. Deadshot uses this opportunity to shoot at its neck. The dragon tumbles here and there in pain till it falls off the mountain into the water, almost taking Deadshot along with it. King Shark forwards his hand in time to save Deadshot from falling. In the helicopter, everyone looks around for weapons when Peacemaker shows he used a dragon's egg to weaken her. Harley holds the egg, calling him insensitive when the egg hatches. The little dragon, now named Arter, considers Harley his mother, which she doesn't seem to mind. Rick communicates with his director, who is glad that he is alive. Rick reports that he is working with the squad and has managed to establish good relations with the kingdom. He also tells him that the advanced team has joined the enemies. The director tells him to get rid of them then. Back inside, the helicopter is inoperable now, so the squad collects the necessary stuff to get on the move while coming for more later when needed. While walking back, they sense a burning smell from where the ogres were. Rushing there, they come across the land burning with magic and two new enemies across them. Harley stands at the edge of the cliff while she looks at the disaster right in front of her. She sees a hot elf that Santa would probably hire that slices Beanstalk and walks off. The entire squad then runs to the place of disaster where there are more than one elves. One by one they all begin to take them down. Harley is about to kill the same elf who beheaded Beanstalk, but another elf is soon about to attack her. But before she could do anything, Peacemaker walks up and throws his very cliche line, "You mess with peace, you mess me." But well, Peacemaker gets attacked by Thinker, whose head is so huge that his mom would have probably gotten her in.
Whoa, hey.
He brings a whole army of elves with him, along with a total hottie who looks like she has daddy issues, hence she is working with a guy who could be his father. Thinker belittles them and says that they all are just a bunch of losers, even though he's the one with no social life. Deadshot is so done with the day that he calls Thinker a mad scientist. Harley takes over the situation and asks what he wants and if he's here to take revenge for his rodent friend. But Thinker says that he couldn't care less about Ratcatcher. Meanwhile, the Peacemaker has two grenades ready to throw at them. The hot mommy, Enchantress, says that there's no point in fighting since they have already fallen, but Harley won't back down and swears to end them. Peacemaker throws the grenades at him while Deadshot blows them up, and behind all that Harley attacks him, but he's got a shield on him that is just as unbreakable as your heart. Well, Harley gets attacked by the elves and gets thrown away the way she wants to be thrown in bed by the Joker. Then, here comes a surprise attack by Clayface, but well, it's sort of predictable and the elves dodge that too. On the other hand, Shark is able to break through the Enchantress's shield, but she throws him away in the water, where the poor thing now has to face Waylon and another fish who is as huge as Kim. On the other hand, Harley and the rest of the gang are fighting off elves who literally won't stop coming one after one. Out of frustration, Harley says that this is why she hates swarmy eggheads, and Thinker hears that. Well, he glows the crystals he's been throwing, which turn red and drag them all to their past traumas. That's what happens when your card gets declined at therapy. Enchantress gets back and she tells Thinker to quit playing around. Then, the Thinker shoots them all except Harley, to which Enchantress tells her to give up and walk away. But Harley is and tells her that she's just another ass kisser of the Empire. Enchantress makes it clear she isn't with the Empire and then attacks her, knocking her unconscious. Harley opens her eyes in Joker's arms and he tells her to get her act together. She wakes up again on a rock and she sees Rick talking to Thinker. Rick tells him that he's been ordered to catch him alive and he needs to stop testing him now. After that, Thinker and his crew leave while Harley cries seeing them all dead. But well, there's no show where the main characters die so quickly. The bullet had no impact on them. It just knocked them off and they all wake up soon enough. Deadshot pulls out the bullet from him and it glows, showing signs that the girl from earlier had no intention of eliminating them from the start. Later, they all sit in a cell and Cecil walks to them and talks to them. He barely gets any replies because of the defeat they all faced just now. In the Empire, the footage is being played of what happened earlier and Aldora doesn't seem much panicked. She covers it up by saying that all they lost were some prisoners and they clearly lost in this battle. Aldora blames the entire thing on whoever suggested that those prisoners should fight, and they all should be disposed of now. Hearing that, Phione gets shocked and protests against it, but Aldora, being the cold woman she is, says that they need to do this to keep the military in line. The useless kissers walk in and begin to say that the queen is right and they all should be hanged. On the other hand, Phione informs Cecil that they're being executed soon enough. Cecil does realize that they relied on their powers too much, but executing them would bring no change. After that, Phione tells Cecil that her mother once said ending the war is the duty of royalty. But she can't understand how her mother could make such a decision and she isn't sure if her mother is trustable anymore. Cecil asks about her feelings towards them because he can see that she has some attachment towards them. She has no answer, but her heart tells her to believe in them. Cecil admits that he has grown some attachment to them as well and he has a plan in his mind. Back in the cell room, Deadshot and Peacemaker are arguing over what caused the chaos and why they ended up being here, which is later on joined in by Clayface too, and the conversation is going nowhere. Suddenly, Artie shows up in the window of the cell. Seeing him, Harley tells him that she can't feed him right now. They all are powerless, yet they want to escape, and it seems like God heard their prayers. Cecil comes and tells them to get out since he plans an escape for them and tells them the entire thing. So now, in order to live, they gotta convince the queen that they're not useless. Cecil motivates them to get up and start proving their worth and not let Thinker get into their minds. Then, Phione walks in too and tells them to hurry up because she can't keep on distracting the soldiers with her ankles forever. After that, they motivate Shark too by yanking his tooth out, that if he can regrow a tooth, he should regrow some balls to fight again as well. As they run out, Harley asks Phione if she's sure she wants to do this. But Phione brushes it off and asks about Noel, Harley's brother, to which Harley tells him that he's been doing fine, but the bread prices are literally unaffordable at this point. Here comes a flashback from Phione's life where her mom blames her for the death of the young boy. So, yeah, not everyone has daddy issues, some have mommy issues too. Her mom tells her to do exactly what she says and not make a mistake ever again. Well, at least she didn't end up with a pregnancy mistake. Aldora should have been grateful for that. Coming back to the present, Phione says that it's easier to do what she's being told, but that's not the right choice because she feels wrong to act the same way as she did in the past. Then, Harley and Peacemaker escape too, while Cecil supports Phione's decision in helping them escape. Outside the castle, it's early in the morning and the kingdom has realized that the weird squad has escaped and they ring the bells. Artie flies right in the arms of Harley, which is unfair to me because I should have been the one in the arms of a crazy girl who would fix me. Anyhow, Peacemaker thinks of some strategy and decides to first get done with Thinker since he's the one creating the chaos. On the other hand, Thinker took a sneak peek in their minds and has some really huge plan next to commit, which the queen probably can't solve with her toxic mother behavior as well. The next day, Harley has a flashback of her and the Joker standing on top of a roof under the dim glow of a hazy moon, staring down at the twinkling lights of the city below, both looking at their next target, a bank shimmering in the distance like a prize in a carnival game, just waiting to be stolen. But of course, nothing is ever that simple. Joker casually informs Harley that the bank's security is the tightest in the world. Harley turns to her beloved Pudding and asks how they are going to do it. He lays it out for her. If they go in guns blazing, like so many before them, they'll be playing tic-tac-toe on their cell walls by morning. Joker then asks Harley about how she would fancy going about the situation. She suggests that maybe, just maybe, they should give up. But this is the Joker she's talking to, and giving up is not in his dictionary no matter what the task might be. He laughs, a cackle that echoes off the rooftops, and with a glint in his eye, tells Harley that giving up is for chumps and that breaking into this bank isn't about the money but about the thrill, the challenge, and the fact that it hasn't been done by anyone before. Harley is thrilled by this, and then Joker stuns her even more. He has got a plan. A way to break in and burst the vault wide open. Presently, Harley is no longer standing on a rooftop with just the Joker. She is with the team. They are standing at a safe distance from their target, a large and deadly fortress. Deadshot takes a look through his scope and sees elves. They are everywhere, and getting past them is going to be tough. Colonel Rick Flag, more like the leader of the group, agrees with Deadshot about this challenge, which would make it impossible for them to gain entry into the fortress. They'd be toast if they charged in without a plan. So, they start strategizing, with Clayface morphing into a 3D map of the fortress, showing every nook, cranny, and death trap. But just as they are getting into the main stuff, Harley spots something with the binoculars which they used. Katana and Ratcatcher are already inside the building. This is not just a heist anymore, it will be a showdown. Peacemaker, who has never met a problem he couldn't solve with violence, points out the obvious. They will definitely need to separate Katana from Ratcatcher if they want to stand a chance of eliminating them both. But Harley suggests they just take them both on at once. It is a bold plan, possibly a stupid one, but bold and stupid is kind of Harley's kind of stuff. The team debates the difficulty of the task ahead, but Harley, in a flash of inspiration, remembers that night on the rooftop with the Joker. She tells them how they once cracked a bank wide open, not by brute force, but by focusing on the people, the ones who hold the keys, and not on the guards or security. The idea is simple: make the keyholder's life miserable enough, and they will do anything to make it stop. Peacemaker, impressed by the simplicity and sheer audacity of the plan, wonders why he had not thought of it first. With the plan set, Peacemaker outlines their approach. Harley, King Shark, Clayface, and Peacemaker will sneak around to the back of the fortress. King Shark, who's less shark and more wrecking ball with teeth, will help Clayface get inside while Colonel Flag and Deadshot head for the front gate. They will wait for the signal, and once it comes, Flag will lead a diversion to draw the elves away, while Deadshot keeps an eye on the infiltration team, making sure they don't end up as Elf Chow. The plan kicks off, though not without a few hitches. King Shark, despite his best efforts, causes a bit of chaos, but they roll with it. The Thinker, who's been watching from his control room, sees the commotion and confidently believes that the fortress is unbreachable. He orders Katana to be summoned. However, Clayface transforms into Thinker and meets Katana before she gets to the original Thinker, and then has a chat with her about the intricacies of the brain's structure. The plan is to distract her from all the action while the others do the dirty work. Meanwhile, Harley and King Shark have a grand old time making elf soup. Harley, in particular, is in her element, slicing through the magical creatures with glee. She finally makes it inside the fortress and comes face to face with the real Thinker. He is surprised, but not impressed. In his mind, Harley and the squad's plan is child's play, and he tells her as much. But Harley isn't fazed. She figures he is just sore because he couldn't figure out how to cheat and win. The Thinker, disappointed but determined, doesn't get much of a chance to do anything about it because Harley's not one for chit-chat when there's a fight to be had. She lunges at him, and what follows is a brawl. The Thinker, with his vast intellect, predicts Harley's every move, dodging and countering with the precision of a chess master. Harley, frustrated and getting pounded in the process, lets out a scream of pure rage. But then, in a moment of clarity, she laughs, cackles, really throwing the Thinker off his game. And with one swift move, she clocks him right on the head with her trusty weapon. The Thinker, now reeling and in pain, realizes too late that Harley had taken a hit to the head on purpose. It was all part of her plan to mess with his mind-reading abilities. With his psychic edge gone, he is at a loss, unable to predict her next move. Desperate, the Thinker threatens to go deeper into her mind, but Harley dares him to try. He does, of course, because who can resist a dare? Inside her head, he sees it all: Harley's past, her time as a brilliant psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum, the bright future she could have had. But instead of gaining control, the Thinker finds himself overwhelmed and Harley takes back control of her mind. When he snaps back to reality, she's standing in front of him, grinning, and with a final, brutal swing, Harley sends the Thinker flying, neutralizing him and breaking his control over the elves. The fortress, now defenseless, is primed for destruction. Harley and her crew set off the bombs and make their escape, leaving the Thinker, dazed and nearly unconscious, amidst the wreckage. Just as the fortress begins to collapse, Katana arrives, finding the Thinker lying in a heap. She's not here to save him though. No, she's here to settle a score. With a single, swift motion, she crisp breezes him, ending his reign of mental terror. Outside, Harley, soaked from head to toe after her escape through the collapsing fortress, tries to shake off the water. She is startled by a noise behind her and turns to find Katana standing there, holding the Thinker's head like a twisted trophy. Harley is shocked and asks if Katana isn't on the same side as the Thinker. Katana explains that he was only useful as long as he had something to offer. Now that he's just ahead, his utility has run out. Katana, surprisingly, compliments Harley's plan, acknowledging that it is clever and effective. Harley, still reeling from everything that's happened, barely has time to process the praise before Katana delivers a shocker, literally, as she throws down the nearly lifeless body of Clayface, making Harley mad with rage. She then comes down and faces Harley, urging her to attack, which she immediately does, and another intense fight takes place. Katana is a little too strong for Harley, which makes her yell at Clayface, asking if he is just going to lay on the ground and do nothing. Clayface immediately yields to her and transforms into a mighty sword, and she grabs it instantly, facing Katana again. This time, she is just able to cut Katana's weapon in half. The fight still does not end as Katana is resilient, but in the end, she gives up and escapes, jumping into the river nearby. King Shark wants to go after her, but Clayface asks him not to, as it would be pointless to chase her down. He adds that they would get their revenge some other day. At the Grand Council chamber of Queen Aldora's palace, the Queen herself and her council members, including Theodore, are having a deep discussion. The topic on the table is none other than the infamous Squad, a band of misfits who, against all odds, managed to take down the elves and the fortress that had been giving the kingdom a hard time. However, not everyone is ready to hand out medals just yet. Theodore, always ready to rain on any parade, insists that the Squad doesn't deserve praise or the title of heroes. Sure, they helped the kingdom, but according to Theodore, that doesn't automatically make them heroes. As expected, this sparks a heated debate among the council members. Some of them argue that the Squad's actions, while unconventional and chaotic, ultimately saved the day, and they should be acknowledged for it. Others, like Theodore, believe that recklessness shouldn't be rewarded. Just as the argument reaches a fever pitch, Queen Aldora steps in. Because what's a queen for if not to restore order? She calls out to Theodore, her tone implying that she has a more pressing matter at hand that requires his attention. Theodore, of course, is eager to be of service to the queen, even if it means putting his righteous indignation on hold. Meanwhile, miles away from the palace and completely oblivious to the debate raging about them, Harley Quinn and her motley crew are making their way toward the palace, heads held high. They're convinced that the kingdom is going to throw them a feast, complete with banners and fireworks, to honor their heroic deeds. Harley is practically salivating at the thought of the roast boar and mead, while Deadshot is already imagining the accolades they'll receive. Colonel Flagg, however, tries to temper their enthusiasm by reminding them that they had, in fact, broken out of prison. Not just any prison, but a maximum security one, the kind you don't just walk out of. But Deadshot, with his usual deadpan humor, brushes off Flagg's concerns. After all, they did just take down the Thinker and his massive fortress. Surely that's enough to wipe their slate clean, right? When the Squad finally arrives at the palace, Harley, noted as the attention seeker, bursts through the doors and announces their arrival with a flourish. She proclaims that the heroes have returned, expecting cheers and maybe a few flower petals thrown their way. Instead, they're met with a cold reception. Just as Colonel Flagg had feared, the council isn't interested in celebrating. In fact, they're furious. The Squad is immediately scolded for breaking out of prison and charging headlong into enemy territory without seeking for granted permission. Deadshot, sensing the mood, steps forward to plead their case. He argues that they took down the Thinker, who was one of the kingdom's greatest enemies. But before he can get too far, a council member cuts him off, pointing out that the Thinker was originally from Deadshot's world. So, really, the Squad just cleaned up their own mess. Deadshot tries to push back, but it's no use. The council members are more concerned about the chaos the Squad caused during their prison break. Not only did they wreak havoc, but they also freed a bunch of dangerous prisoners in the process. As if that wasn't enough, the council goes on to criticize the Squad for their violent tendencies, their absurd outfits, and their general lack of respect. The atmosphere in the room grows tense, with everyone on edge. Then, in a moment that surprises everyone, one of the council members, apparently fed up with Harley's antics, strides over and delivers a powerful slap right across her face. The sound echoes through the chamber, and for a moment, there's complete silence. That silence doesn't last long though. King Shark immediately leaps to Harley's defense. Unfortunately, his idea of defense is to eat the offending council member whole. Chaos erupts in the palace. The remaining council members scream and scatter as King Shark causes absolute mayhem. When the dust finally settles, Queen Aldora, who is now thoroughly unimpressed with the Squad, orders that King Shark be executed for attacking her subject. As for the rest of the squad, she decrees that they be exiled from the kingdom. It's clear that their heroic fantasies have gone up in smoke. The squad, now minus one large, shark-shaped friend, makes their way out of the palace. As they're leaving, Princess Phione, the queen's daughter, rushes out after them. She's clearly distressed and apologizes profusely for what has happened. But Harley, still nursing her sore cheek and even sorer pride, isn't in the mood for apologies. She snaps at the princess, saying that she should continue to be mommy's little girl forever. Feeling dejected, the squad heads to a rundown clubhouse to drown their sorrows. They order round after round of drinks, hoping to forget the disastrous turn their day has taken. However, an entertainer, seeing their gloomy faces, tries to lighten the mood with some music. But the kinda made the situation worse since the squad is in no mood for cheerfulness. Harley cuts him off mid-verse and tells him to stop. Clayface, widely known as the performer, suggests the entertainer skip to the second verse, hoping it might be more to their liking. Just as the entertainer is about to oblige, Deadshot, in a fit of frustration, hurls his glass mug at the poor man. The mug strikes him squarely on the head, and the entertainer, stunned, stumbles backward. Clayface, who has just about enough of Deadshot's temper, rises to his feet and glares at him. Before anyone can intervene, the two are locked in a brawl, with fists and insults flying. The other patrons in the clubhouse, realizing that things are about to get ugly, dive under the tables for cover. The entertainer, now thoroughly regretting his career choice, crawls over to Peacemaker and Colonel Flag, who are still sitting at their table. He begs them to put an end to the fight, but Peacemaker, never one to pass up a chance for violence, grabs the entertainer and sends him flying across the room. At this point, Colonel Flag is the only one not involved in the brawl. But then, as luck would have it, he gets hit by a stray bottle. Instantly, his temper flares and he jumps into the fray. What was once a simple scuffle between two squad members quickly turns into an all-out barroom brawl, with tables being overturned and chairs smashed to pieces. The next morning, the squad wakes up, nursing hangovers and bruised egos. Colonel Flag suggests they head back to the gate. They need to reset the bombs and figure out a way to rescue King Shark. It's clear that they're not ready to give up just yet. Flag manages to get in touch with their director through a radio, hoping for some guidance. But the director, quite known as the no-nonsense leader, has other plans. Without warning, she executes Clayface, who had apparently been annoying her one too many times. The squad is shocked, especially Harley, who immediately starts yelling at the director, calling her every insult she can think of. As Harley continues her tirade, daring the director to execute the rest of them, Flag notices something strange. The castle, which had been peaceful the day before, now appears to be on fire. He quickly reports this to the director and pleads with her to let them continue their mission. He argues that the battle raging at the royal capital is their chance to make a difference and establish a friendly relationship with the kingdom. He even suggests that they could build a base there if everything goes according to plan. The director, after some consideration, agrees. She gives them 24 hours to complete the mission and warns them that the bombs are set to explode if they don't show results. With that, she hangs up, leaving the squad to figure out their next move. Harley, still fuming, asks Flag why he chose to save them. Flag, in his usual stoic manner, explains that even though they're all bad guys, they're still a little bit good. Good enough, at least, to have a song written about them someday. Just as they're starting to feel a little better about themselves, something strange happens. Clayface, who they all thought was dead, suddenly reappears, completely intact. His head had been blown off by the bomb, but now he stands before them, whole and unharmed. The squad, understandably freaked out, screams in unison. Clayface tells them to calm down and explains that blowing off a part of his body isn't enough to kill him. Harley reminds everyone that they only have 24 hours to complete their mission. Flag, snapping back into leader mode, orders the squad to move out. It's time to get back to business, and they can't afford any more distractions. Cecil finds himself standing in front of a statue, his face the very picture of gloom. He is deep in thought, reflecting on his choices and questioning whether the path he chose was the right one. His brooding is interrupted by some noise coming from outside. A guard, stationed by the entrance, hears it too and decides to check it out. The guard opens the door cautiously, but before he can see what's going on, he is struck down by an intruder. This intruder is not alone. He enters with two others, one of whom is a minister from the kingdom. However, something is very wrong with the minister. He has a strange device on his head, a gadget which Thinker usually uses as a mind controller. Cecil's mood quickly shifts from gloomy to furious. He confronts the minister, but the minister, speaking in an eerily detached tone, says he is merely doing his duty as a loyal servant of the kingdom. The orders, he claims, come directly from Her Majesty, the Queen. This news hits Cecil hard. His concern immediately turns to Princess Phione. His anger and worry for her bubble to the surface as he demands the minister tell him that the princess is safe. But the minister cuts him off, saying that Cecil should be worrying about more important things than the princess right now. Meanwhile, in the queen's chambers, Princess Phione enters and is shocked to see an intruder who looks exactly like her mother, the queen. Fear grips her heart, but she tries to stay calm. She demands to know what this impostor has done to her mother. The intruder, with a chilling smile, reveals that she has disposed of the queen. Hearing this, tears start to stream down Phione's face. She asks why anyone would do such a horrible thing. The intruder, now clearly enjoying herself, explains that her powers grow stronger with each death, and that is why she has been stirring up war between the kingdom and the empire, causing countless lives to be lost. She goes on to say that taking on the queen's appearance made it all too easy to carry out her evil plans. Princess Phione, now terrified but determined, grabs a piece of furniture in the room, hoping to use it as a weapon against the intruder. But the intruder easily slices it in half and, in a flash, grabs Phione by the neck. She mocks the princess for thinking she could be defeated with such a weak weapon. The intruder then taunts Phione further, saying that the sacred sword, the one weapon that could possibly stop her, is stuck in the belly of a shark, and there is now no one left who can stand in her way. Just as she is about to harm the princess, Cecil bursts into the room and hurls a knife at the intruder, striking her from a distance. Cecil quickly checks to make sure the princess is okay, then turns to face the intruder. He demands that she reveal her true identity. To his shock, the intruder transforms into the undead king, confirming Cecil's worst fears, that the war has been orchestrated by this malevolent being all along. Cecil knows they are outmatched, so with a bit of quick thinking and a dash of magic, he manages to escape with Princess Phione. But their reprieve is short-lived. The minister and his henchmen arrive soon after, and the undead king orders them to pursue and eliminate both Cecil and the princess while she sets about turning the royal capital into a place of death. Cecil and Phione find a temporary refuge in one of the palace chambers. The princess, overwhelmed by grief, breaks down, mourning the loss of her mother. But Cecil knows they can't afford to wallow in despair. He grabs a shiny knife and hands it to Phione, telling her that she has to be strong because, with the queen gone, the kingdom's hope now rests on her shoulders. Their moment is cut short, however, as they realize that their hiding place has been discovered. The intruders are attempting to break in. Phione, summoning her courage, takes the weapon from Cecil and prepares to face the danger. The intruders finally break down the door and enter the room, only to find the princess standing by the window, her back turned to them. The minister orders her to surrender, taunting that she can run but she can't hide from him. But Phione, speaking softly to herself, reflects that she has held back for too long, thinking it was the right thing to do. But now she knows she has to change. The minister, puzzled by her behavior, approaches her, but as he gets close, Phione suddenly turns and strikes him down. In the same swift motion, she also disables the minister's aides, who had been under his mind control. Cecil, who had been preparing to burst in and fight, arrives just in time to witness the aftermath. He is momentarily speechless, seeing the princess standing victorious over her enemies. But there is no time to be stunned. Phione, now fully embracing her role as a leader, calls out to Cecil. She tells him they have to fight back and orders him to rally anyone who has not yet fallen to the undead king's influence, as they need to launch a counterattack against the enemy. Meanwhile, the undead king reaches the capital and begins spreading chaos. She creates a dark cloud that causes the undead to rise from their graves. Panic ensues as the citizens flee in all directions, screaming and running for their lives. The undead king creates a gigantic reflection of herself in the sky and addresses the people, telling them they have wasted their lives serving an unworthy queen and that now they must perish for their foolishness. Just as she finishes her declaration, Princess Phione creates her own enormous reflection, this one shining brightly above the castle. She speaks to the people, urging them to overcome their fear as the enemy is relying on their terror to win. She promises them that she will no longer hold back and will fight with all her might to protect them. The undead king, enraged by this display of defiance, immediately launches an attack on the castle. In the midst of the chaos, Shark arrives to lend a hand in the fight. The undead king, unfazed by the appearance of Shark, mocks the princess, saying that she cannot hope to stop her. But Phione, unshaken, replies that she is not alone in this battle. The undead king, now angrier than ever, summons even more undead creatures, who rise from the ground and swarm into the capital. Deadshot, one of the squad members, suggests they quickly deal with this mess. Peacemaker, another squad member, spots King Shark struggling in a fight and alerts the others. Harley Quinn worries that Shark is in trouble, but Flag, the squad's leader, insists that their main priority is to save the princess. The squad splits into two groups, one heads towards the castle to protect the princess, while the other takes on the undead swarming the capital. As the battle rages on, the undead king summons her ally, the enchantress, to the battlefield. Back in the castle, Princess Fiona tells Cecil that he must leave her and go help the squad take down the enemy. Cecil is reluctant to leave her side, but Fiona assures him that she will be fine and that she will also do her part to aid in the fight. With some hesitation, Cecil agrees and heads off to join the battle, urging Fiona to stay safe. The fight intensifies as more enemies pour in. Katana, also known as the Blade Maiden, joins the battle on the side of the undead king. Elsewhere, Shark is having a hard time holding his own against his opponent, Killer Croc. Just when things are looking grim, Peacemaker swoops in to assist him. Meanwhile, Arthur the Dragon also arrives on the scene, providing much-needed support to Harley Quinn and Deadshot, who are locked in a fierce battle with the Enchantress. Cecil, too, arrives at the battlefield, and his presence helps turn the tide as the enemies prove to be more stubborn than the squad anticipated. In the end, Harley Quinn manages to land a decisive blow on the Enchantress, knocking her down. Sensing something off about the Enchantress's energy when she first appears, Harley decides to interrogate her, hoping to uncover more about the dark forces at play. His choices. Back at the castle, Princess Fiona prepares for the next wave of attacks, knowing that the battle is far from over. With the fate of the kingdom hanging in the balance, she steels herself for whatever comes next, determined to fight for her people and honor her mother's legacy. Colonel Flag and Clayface find themselves on a wild adventure. They had followed Katana into the woods, thinking she had something interesting up her sleeve. Clayface is probably trying to figure out what just happened. Flag decides to jump into action. He dives right into the dragon's belly and pulls out the figure that looks like the Enchantress. As he does so, something weird happens. The real Enchantress, who's currently being held down by Harley Quinn, suddenly feels the pain of being struck. Flag, probably realizing this is more than they bargained for, quickly calls Harley to let her know what's going on. He tells her that they found a figure connected to the Enchantress. Harley, in her usual let's get this done attitude, demands they bring it to her. But Flag mentions that dragging a figure out of a dragon's belly and across a zombie-infested landscape isn't exactly a walk in the park. He hangs up, leaving Harley to deal with the real Enchantress. Harley taunts the Enchantress, telling her that her squad has managed to retrieve something that the undead king stole from her. She also asks for a little help in return. Meanwhile, back in the woods, Clayface and Flag are having their own problems. The skeleton dragon, not too happy about losing its treasure, is chasing them. Just when things look really grim, Katana shows up out of nowhere. With a mighty swing of her sword, she slices the dragon in half like it's nothing. Both Flag and Clayface are stunned, and Flag asks why she saved them. Katana only just tells them to get moving because Harley is waiting for them. Clayface, always the charmer, thanks her and suggests they catch up for a chat at the castle when all the fighting is done. But Katana, in true ninja fashion, disappears before they can say anything else. Now, with the dragon dealt with, they need to figure out how to navigate through a zombie-infested capital to meet up with Harley. Not exactly a fun road trip, but it is all in a day's work for this squad. Elsewhere, Peacemaker is giving Killer Croc a run for his money, while Cecil, in a heroic but tragic moment, sacrifices himself to save Deadshot. Cecil gets badly injured and, in his final moments, gives his legendary armor to Deadshot. He makes Deadshot's promise to protect the princess and the kingdom before he passes away. It is a pretty sad moment, but it gives Deadshot a newfound purpose. Somehow, despite all the chaos, Clayface and Flag manage to drag the Enchantress figure down to where Harley is. But things take a twist. The Enchantress isn't exactly feeling cooperative. She has no interest in helping Harley and the squad, and instead, she's focused on getting revenge on the undead king for treating her like a tool. With her sights set on revenge, the Enchantress raises even more undead minions and vows to eliminate every last one of them. Apparently, these undead have been annoyingly resistant to staying dead, but the Enchantress plans to fix that. Meanwhile, Deadshot finally catches up with the rest of the squad. Harley is thrilled, not just because he made it, but because he somehow has the ability to fly without wings now. It's a pretty cool new trick, and he shows off a bit before handing out the remaining parts of Cecil's armor to the squad. Everyone, including King Shark, suits up in the new gear, transforming their look into something straight out of a comic book cover. With Harley leading the charge, they dive back into the fray, smashing zombies left and right. But no matter how many they take down, more keep crawling out of the woodwork. The only way to stop the endless horde is to take down the evil undead leader once and for all. At this point, the Enchantress finally decides to back them up. She encourages the squad to go after the evil one and promises that once he's taken care of, they'll be even. She takes on the creepy creatures, leaving the squad to focus on their main target, the undead king. The battle against the undead king is nothing short of epic. Attacks fly in every direction, and some of them hit Harley and Flag, sending them crashing onto a castle balcony. Conveniently, this balcony happens to be where Princess Fiona is standing. Harley, never missing an opportunity for a quip, compliments the princess on her makeup, which looks just like hers. Flag, ever the serious one, asks the princess for help, hoping her magic can turn the tide in their favor. But Princess Fiona drops a bombshell. She can't help because the only way to defeat the undead king is with a holy sword that has been passed down for centuries. The catch? The sword is currently missing. While this revelation hangs in the air, Peacemaker and Deadshot are going toe-to-toe with the undead king. But no matter what they throw at him, it barely makes a dent. In the end, both of them get brutally knocked down. Clayface and Shark also give it a shot, but the result is the same. The undead king mocks them all, pointing out that while they might have borrowed some power from the holy armor, it's not enough to guarantee victory against her. But the squad doesn't let her taunts get to them. They get back up and dive into the fight once more. This time, the princess joins in too, and just when things seem hopeless, she manages to cut off the undead king's head with the missing holy sword. Which Shark, in a bizarre twist, pulls out from his belly. Apparently, he's been keeping it safe all along. With the undead king defeated, the kingdom is saved, and the squad gets a hero's welcome at the castle. There's a big ceremony where they're honored for their bravery and success in defending the kingdom. But Harley, being Harley, is far more interested in the feast than in any scroll or award. The princess assures her that there's a massive meal waiting in the courtyard, complete with food for Arthur as well. As the dust settles, Flag reports back to Amanda Waller. He informs her that the kingdom has agreed to cooperate with them, which is a big win. It means they'll be able to establish a bridgehead for gathering resources. But Amanda, never one to rest easy, asks about the status of their primary mission. Flag reports that it's still ongoing but that they've hit a snag because they've spotted Katana at the Empire. Amanda, always quick to blame someone, pins it on the Joker. But little does she know, Katana is actually with her as she speaks with Flag. Amanda then orders that they hunt down the Joker immediately, with instructions to eliminate him if necessary. However, at the end, Joker revealed himself as the true mastermind behind all this. The day Harley was talking about how boring her world was, Joker had a plan made all along for her, revealing that Joker was the real enemy Harley has been fighting this entire time. That concludes the anime recap. As always, if you enjoyed, let me know down below, and I'm out.